Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Most Important Conversations daily meditation. We hold these meditations each day, Monday through Friday. And each meditation begins with a talk around the theme of liberation, how to liberate oneself from our conditioned life, how to liberate oneself from all of the structures and systems that we have learned for who to be and how to be without actually knowing who we are. Liberating ourselves so that we can be the intentional, conscious creator of our life by design, as opposed to tolerating a life by default. The talks that we give at the beginning of these meditations are derivatives from our whole life architecture program, which if you'd like to find out more information, you can go to tmicglobal.com. And today we're talking about our understanding of the self, the way we relate to ourself. And I was observing recently that if social media is good for anything, and there are many things that it has disrupted, and disruption in and of itself is not a problem or good or bad. In fact, in the liberation teachings, we don't even orient ourselves into constructs of good or bad. They're just aligned and unaligned. But social media has created a lot of chaos, but also in chaos, alignment can emerge. And I was thinking that prior to social media, most of us in our society were adhering to a way of thinking and doing and even being that was highly conditioned, highly structured, and highly myopic, very narrow in scope in terms of what was acceptable and what is unacceptable. And what social media has done is it has cracked open a window of reality that was unavailable to most people, that there were people always in our society who were living in an unconditioned way, living according to their own sense of who they were and who they needed to be. Walking to the beat of their own drum, as the saying goes. Those people have always existed, but prior to social media, the masses did not have access to them. They were tucked away in parts of neighborhoods of cities and towns. In many cases, they may have been viewed by the construct of what normal was defined as pre-social media as abnormal or eccentric. And suddenly, social media erupts onto the scene about 20 years ago. It's hard to imagine it's been 20 years. And provides a window into the existence of these people. Suddenly, we could observe the way they were living because they were sharing it. Suddenly, we could get access to their thinking and their perspectives because they were sharing it. Suddenly, they weren't tucked away in a small neighborhood or in a town, only known by those who were geographically nearby. Suddenly, they could develop a mini tribe of followers of thousands or tens of thousands or even millions of people. Social media lit a fire that showed us there's not just one way to be, that there is other ways of being that perhaps are more aligned with you, that you didn't need to fit in to the social construct of normal. I like Gabor Mate's book that came out a couple of years ago, The Myth of Normal. This idea that we all have to conform to a way of being is antithetical and counterintuitive to discovering and answering the question that Lewis Carroll asked, "Who are you?" in his book, Alice in Wonderland. And so the question now is not whether we agree on a type of conformed way of being. The question now in the post-social media age, because the old construct of normal has been shattered, the construct is no longer whether you fit in. The question now that all of us ought to be asking, because that veil has been lifted, is whether our life is in alignment with who we actually are. And that creates a certain amount of confusion for most people because, again, most people haven't really asked or delved into the question of who they actually are. And so one of the things that we teach in whole life architecture is that suffering is a really powerful access point to areas of misalignment in your life. Do you know that most suffering is human created because we are the creator of everything in our experience of reality, in our life? That which constitutes our life is our creation, and we've either created it unconsciously and are tolerating that life by default, or we have created it by design. And one of the things that we are responsible for creating for the majority of the experience of suffering is our own suffering. Sure, there's some suffering that is not created by us. I mean, not as obvious or directly. Sometimes accidents do happen. But in the totality of human suffering and the experience of suffering, there's a very small percentage, probably less than 1%. Most of our suffering is mental. Most of our suffering is an artifact of the mind. It reminds me of the Mark Twain quote about his suffering, about his life, where he says that he suffered many great catastrophes in his life, most of which never happened. Most of which never actually happened. And so what is suffering good for? In the process of seeking to know thyself, as Socrates put it, in the process of answering Lewis Carroll's question, who are you? The caterpillar asking Alice as a metaphor for all of us. Who are you? What is suffering good for as it relates to that question? We have, until we don't, a limited range of consciousness. And even within that limited range of consciousness, self-awareness, there are signals. There are signals that we are getting all the time that are trying to bring us more and more into alignment with our authentic self. And those signals are what we relate to as suffering. Mental suffering makes up the majority of our experience of suffering. And yet it is a doorway to liberation because it points us, our suffering points us to all of the areas of misalignment, of being unaligned with our authentic self in our thinking. Our feelings that are arising, our feelings that we relate to as negative or bad feelings, are guidance systems to guide us closer and closer to our true identity, to our true self, to the unconditioned ego. And yet, we cling to these stories of our suffering, these stories of non-alignment. We're in resistance to doing anything about our suffering. So we continue to ruminate on it. We continue to share it with others. We continue to obsess over it instead of just letting it drop, letting it glow, letting it go. We refuse to release it. And yet, for many, it can go deep into unbearable despair and depression. And when we hit that level, we know we have truly hit a level of absolute unalignment. And yet, the challenge for us is that we get trapped in these stories where we're the victim. Things happen to us. People do things to us. We're so egocentric and narcissistic when we're in this state. We're so blind by our narcissism and by the story that we've told around our suffering, because rather than transform our suffering by accepting it, by acknowledging it, by letting it pass through us as opposed to get trapped in us, we catch it with a story and we ruminate on it and we tell ourselves it over and over and over again. If we don't create a story, because we're the creators of everything around our suffering, it would be momentary. Our suffering would be a guidance system that would alert us to an area of non-alignment, and we would feel that suffering for a moment, but because we wouldn't wrap it in story and attach ourselves to it, it would move through us. It reminds me of animals. Animals don't have a mind like humans have a mind, where we can think and create and ruminate on things. Animals are all instinct. They are responding to what's happening in the moment. They are not obsessing over their past, and they are not planning for their future. If an animal is chased by another predator animal, there is a moment of fear, a moment of suffering that occurs. But as soon as the moment is over, the animal's nervous system regulates itself back into a state of parasympathetic homeostasis. It relaxes. The memory of being chased by the larger predator is over. It doesn't stay with the animal. They respond to what is, and then they respond to the next state of what is. And we could learn a lot from this. But instead, we're more like the animal being chased by the predator, and then we've gotten away from the predator, and then we sit in the cave reliving being chased by the predator over and over and over and over again. And what if it happens again? And what if it happens in the future? And what will I do about it? And how will I plan for it? And can I do that? Am I smart enough? Do I have enough resources? Do I know the right people? And on and on and on it goes. This is the true suffering of human beings, which is suffering our own suffering by creating it, creating the conditions for suffering to even exist. And we wrap ourselves in the story of what happened and what we've made it mean about us. Something can't just happen meaninglessly and we can't just move on. There's got to be some big fat story that we have to create, and we are either the victim or the hero of it. And yet, ironically, at the same time, we resist suffering. We resist it, and though we love it because we ruminate in it and we keep it going by telling ourselves the story about all the things that have happened or will happen, even though they're not happening in the present moment. To experience liberation is to transform suffering and to start to relate to it as a gift and a blessing, because it is a path to more and higher awareness. It is a process where we are continuing to calibrate and titrate ourselves closer and closer to our authentic self. Each opportunity that suffering provides is an opportunity to drop something that is unaligned and either just be at peace in the space for a moment, or to intentionally fill the space with something that is more aligned. Each moment is that opportunity, if you can stay out of the story. If you can stay out of the story, you'll be able to see clearly. If you stay out of the story, you'll be able to feel the suffering fully, but it won't last. It will be gone in a flash. If you realize that you are responsible for your suffering and how your perception creates the reality of that suffering, then the suffering will not stop until you're able to cease all of the mind-created suffering, delusions, and activity that you are trapped inside of. It's so easy and so difficult that our suffering is created by ourselves, and yet we refuse to drop it because it gives us so much fulfillment and so much meaning. So as we move into our observer watcher meditation this morning, the question as a prompt for you to just passively have in the back of your mind, passively be in consideration of, is where am I attached to the story of my suffering? Your suffering could be anything. It could be related to anything. It could be suffering the stories of a health condition, suffering the stories of a relationship dynamic, suffering the stories of career or lack thereof one, suffering the stories of who you are going to be in this ever-changing world. Suffering the stories around not knowing the right people, suffering the stories about being bored in your life, suffering the stories you have around not having enough money in your perception to be able to create the life that you want to create. And even though some of these experiences may be factual, it is the story around it that keeps us trapped in the suffering experience. It may be true that you have a health condition. It may be true that you're in an unsatisfying, an unsatisfactory relationship. It may be true that you don't have the money and resources that you would like to have to do the things you want to do. Those things may be true, but you don't have to suffer at the hands of it. The story is where the suffering occurs. And the story is where you are unable and paralyzed from taking any new action that would resolve the issue. Because when we ruminate in stories that are holding us down, that are keeping us depressed, we also depress our energy, our creative energy. We depress the power that we have inside of ourselves to transmute and transform the situation. Because all of our life force energy is spent on ruminating in it than actually being a creator of the solution, of the new thing. Where are you holding on to your suffering this morning? Where do you have stories driving your behavior or paralyzing you into immobility, into non-action, into fear. As we move into our meditation, allow your higher self to speak to you. The Watcher Observer meditation is not a guided meditation. It is one where we become the observer and the watcher of our thoughts and our emotions. The Watcher meditation is where we distinguish us, our authentic creator self, where we liberate ourselves from our thoughts and our emotions. Our thoughts arise because that's what our brain does. It is a thinking machine. It creates thoughts, most of which we really don't need to attend to, and yet we find ourselves mostly in perpetual reaction to. The Watcher Observer meditation creates the gap, the space between you and your thoughts, teaching you through practice that you do not have to attend to them, you do not have to attach to them, and you certainly don't have to ruminate on them and wrap a story around it. And the Watcher Observer meditation also creates space between our emotions and ourself, so that we can feel our emotions without chasing it or getting attached to them. We feel them and they move through us and they burn off. And then that's it. Same like our thinking. The thought arrives, we watch, we observe, we don't attend, we don't chase the thought, we don't chase the emotions. We let it move in and out of our awareness, like clouds passing in the sky. And this type of meditation is the path to liberation. Because the more you can think and feel without attaching, the more you can think and feel without creating story, the more powerful and liberated you will be as you move through life. If you look at the world right now, our entire society is largely in a perpetual story of grievance and victimage. Everyone is trapped in some story, and the story always has a villain, and the other is the villain. There is no resolution on this path. The only resolution to the experiences that we are witnessing in the world right now is for people to liberate themselves and rise above the myopia of their rightness, the myopia of their story, the myopia of the suffering that they are a walking, habituated, unconscious reaction to. This is the only solution. Liberation is the only path out. And only you can liberate yourself. No one is coming to save you. No one is coming to take the pain away because you created the pain. No one can take the pain away. Our suffering is an act of our own creation. And the good news is we can create our way out of the suffering, but it begins with being able to see the suffering. And that's what the Watcher Observer meditation is all about. So for the next few minutes, get in a comfortable position, seated preferably, with a straight spine. Take a few deep cleansing breaths. Allow the oxygen to awaken your mind, awaken your heart, awaken your creative energy. And as we move into this, you are the Watcher Observer. You are not your thoughts and your emotions. You are the Watcher Observer of them. And just in the back, gently, quietly in your mind, have the prompt, where am I attached to my suffering? Where am I ruminating in story around my suffering? And when you see it, when you glean an insight, there's nothing to do, there's no action to take. No planning needs to happen right now. We're just looking for opening our awareness to where our suffering is. So for the next few minutes, be with yourself. Be the Watcher Observer of your thoughts and emotions. And I'll see you very soon. And welcome back, everybody. Reconnecting to the world without from the world within. Whatever insights you gleaned about the areas of where you are suffering, as you go about your day, continue to observe and witness how that shows up for you in your life, that area of suffering. Right now, even just the awareness that you are the creator of this suffering, by ruminating on it, by keeping the story alive, that awareness might be all that you can be with at the moment. But at some point, you'll realize you have to drop it. You have to drop the story. Let it go. Release yourself, liberate yourself, detach yourself, and experience the spaciousness of letting that story go. And what new actions are possible for you with this newfound space. It's like the saying, the colloquialism, the devil you know. We end up living with so many so-called devils in our experience simply because we know it. It's familiar. And in a certain way, we feed off it. But these stories are holding you down and are not allowing you to expand and grow and open not only your awareness, but your experience of life. Every time you resist and have complaint about something, every time you can't do something in your mind, you're holding on to a story and you're perpetuating your suffering. And the awareness is the first step of being able to let it go. Don't be afraid of the spaciousness of no-thingness, but instead embrace it because it is the only place from which new creativity comes from. Before you were attached to your suffering, there was nothing. And then something happened and you started to tell a story about the thing that happened. And it has now become an occupation, a part of your day, a part of your life that you repeat like Groundhog Day every single day, and it is holding you back. You are the creator of your life. And once liberated from your stories, you will be able to create new possibilities for yourself. So I'd invite you today to continue to look where this suffering has got you as you go about your day. Wishing you all a wonderful day, and we will continue with a guided, tomorrow we're doing another observer watcher meditation, but we will continue with this theme of exploring liberation, in particular, how to release from our suffering tomorrow. Have a good day.